Why don't we jump to 21 Savage?
Oh yeah,
I am
totally
greater
similar.
than I was. Um, this is his second album, follow up to 2017's Issa album. I actually was about to say
Nice.
last year's, but it's not last year's.
Correct.
Oh, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, this dropped right before Christmas. It dropped on the 21st, actually, I believe. 21.
Hey,
Being that savage, Dave. We've talked a little bit about how he's done really well in the features. Did he deliver on his second album?
yeah, I think so. I really liked the project, and I was it was kind of just honing in, refining the take I've had for some time now about 21, where he's come a really long way as a all around talent since since most of us became aware of him in early 2016. His delivery is a lot more varied. He really has learned to control his like breath control and his cadences, and never sounds unlike himself. But now there's more variety to what 21 Savage sounds like on any one song, and it's really been cool to see him come into that because he was looped in to the mumble rappers and all that, but he never really was that. And if you actually listen to him, he is actually a pretty impressive storyteller in terms of talking about loss and hurt, as well as how that relates to his previous life of violence and crime and whatnot. So I was quite impressed. And at the end of the day, we listened to him for the bangers, and there's a bunch of bangers on here. Chief among them, the very first song, A Lot, featuring another great J. Cole feature to top off the year. So yeah, I was a big fan. On one hand, I kind of wish he just waited till like this week or next week to release this, because I still feel like streaming helps against this, but I still feel like you kind of lose track of a new musical project at the end of the year. So I thought that was maybe a little ill-advised. But that being said, I'm still really a big fan of it, still bumping it. What'd you think?
No, yeah, I think you touched on most of the points. I think his focus on this is what's most interesting. You mentioned he talks a lot about the trauma, the hardships he went through, a lot of the violence he lived through. I think A Lot is a great example of how he really taps into that, but not in a way that feels like it's too deep to take away from the song. He really just talks about it very bluntly. I think that's the thing I think is most impressive, is he's just very straight to the point. He's more interested in like the facts of things rather than like trying to like make sense of them or understand them. And it makes these heavy songs still really digestible. And I think he varies up his sound quite a bit on this, which is also a huge plus for me. I mean, A Lot is obviously my favorite, but like it was a letter to mom, or let me just make sure I get the name of that correctly. Letter to My Mama, near the very end, I thought was another one, very different sounding song, but a lot of meaning comes together. And ASMR also stood out to me as a really good track. I hear you laughing.
Yeah, well, that's a nice little shout out to the whispering he did on Metro Boomin's album quite recently. So I thought that was funny. Yeah, other tracks I liked. Well, it's funny. I never expected him and J. Cole to vibe on a track so well, but they did on a lot. Similarly, I never thought him and Childish Gambino would vibe so well, but Monster is quite good as well. Kind of reminds me of Gambino on the Stone Mountain Kawhi DJ Drama project. I also liked AT&T with Young Miami from City Girls. And what was the last one I liked? I thought 1.5 was okay, for a Migos song, but him and Offset obviously released Without Warning last year, so they have that chemistry. And then lastly, I liked Good Day, but a lot to like on here, whether you want the bangers, whether you want the booming beats, or you want to actually listen for something more. He's kind of like Kodak Black in that regard. He can kind of give you a little bit of everything in this realm.
Yeah, I think there's a couple songs you can skip on this, but the rest are all really interesting to listen to. And he's shown a lot of growth. I mean, it's kind of, I guess, arbitrary to talk about, but do you think after hearing this album, you feel like his ceiling is higher of what he could be as an artist?
Well, it's funny because I feel like he's already at a really high level. Like he's just a flat out star already. He's 26. He's funny. He's a day
26.
older than me. Exactly. But he's got 9 million Instagram followers, and he does hundreds of millions of streams. Like, he's already huge. Now, can he get much bigger? I don't know what space is there for him to occupy. It's like no one can get to the top when we still have our Drakes and our Kendricks not leaving the top, right? But
Right.
in terms of conquering like the Atlanta sound, he's right next to Gucci and Migos now. He's right with them. So I think the ceiling is still high. And again, he's still quite young, so I'm sure he'll stay hungry for more.